Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Survivor Indianapolis YouTube channel. I'm gonna come at you here with a little reaction to Survivor 50, Episode 1. And I figured the best way I could do this was to go through the tribes and talk about each player and what I thought about them on this episode. Before I get into that, I do want to say I'm gonna spend however long this takes, hopefully not very long, talking about this episode. I'm also then gonna break down our week one fantasy results for those of us that are involved in the fantasy world, if you want to hang around for that. But if those of us that are keeping track of the fantasy stuff, that's going to be at the end of the episode. I also want to start off by saying, hey, if you're watching this, then you must be a fan of Survivor. If I know that you're a fan of Survivor, I have probably talked to you about my LRG, what I do, Survivor Indianapolis, and we are going to start casting in 3 or 4 weeks, middle end of March, and our season is going to be filming, and we're going to have play the game at the end of May, the final Saturday in May, and would love it if you have not played with us. If you wanted to play, hit me up. Um, or there is going to be some posts coming up soon with a Google form. And if you reach out to me, comment on this, go to the Facebook group, that kind of stuff. The game is going to be May 30th. We're still, looking for people to play, so reach out, okay? All right. And with that, let's get into Survivor 50. Overall, before I go player by player, um, loved the episode, man. Absolutely loved it. Um, you know, I'm just gonna go through piece by piece now. I think from here, but just want to say, love the beginning that they honored. The previous 49 seasons in the history of the show. There was just so many, interesting emotional moments in the season, and I think big picture, um, we've needed a returning player season desperately. And I think that this episode showed us that. I think there's some storytelling techniques and different avenues they could take that they did take that you can't take with all new players. And a small part of it also has to do with the fact that basically in all the 40s, other than 4D, the 41 and 4 through 49, the average player, all the players were people that applied, applicants, not recruits. And some of the people that have played in the past, they're all stars, returning players that played. So I would imagine some people from this season were recruited. It wouldn't shock me if like an Aussie, a coach, Stephanie LaGrossa, I mean Jenna was probably a recruit. Like I mean these people were probably recruits, people that Colby. They used to go and just like find popular places like uh, boardwalks in big cities, beach towns and other areas, big cities like New York and places like that, and just try to find interesting people and say, hey, would you, have you thought about being on TV? Do you want to be on, Survivor? And if they said, oh yeah, maybe, okay, well here, this is how you apply. So they would still apply, but like they were recruited. And so I just think like having a wider array of character types and different people, different walks of life, and I think that they try to do that, and I think their casting generally is really good at doing that, except for the fact that it is still pretty much all within the bubble of a Survivor fan. I do think there are a lot of unique and diverse backgrounds in the show and in the 40s in the casting. But like I said, there is still you don't get the Aussie coach dynamic that you had in this episode um, very often from fans because they just understand the game too well and understand the fact that it's a game and like people are going to try to steal your keys. That's how Survivor works. And if that's how the average fan would probably react to that. It was like, yeah, that's how it went. That's how it goes. But someone like an Aussie is not going to respond that way, and that's more interesting. Especially if everyone reacted like Ozzy, then it would be boring. But having both And especially given that we've had 9 seasons of a more of a fan's perspective with the cast. And again, I really enjoyed the casting of those 9 seasons overall. But I just think we've needed a returning player season really bad. So let's get into the Sela tribe. Christian Hubicki, love Christian, love that he's always going to be a target. I don't think he's ever going to be able to play under the radar. I love that he's just like, you know what? I'm not going to try to be under the radar. I'm going to try to lead my tribe a little bit. I'm going to try to organize alliances. I think the core alliance in this tribe is him, Rick, and Emily, and they seem to be able to work with both Suri and Ozzy, and then also go work with Savannah and Joe. And it just seems like he's at the epicenter of power on Sela Tribe, and I'm happy for him for that. The story with him and his son definitely got me in the feels, and was really enjoying what he's doing today well, not today, but in the episode. Suri, love Suri. I felt terrible for her with the challenge, and I'm happy that they didn't just like bury her for it. I mean, I wouldn't have blamed them, but it would have made the season worse if she was gone right away. And so I'm happy she's not. I am obviously worried for her, and I think there's a chance she could go next. But there's also a chance that she could, make it work because it is Surrey Fields we're talking about here. Emily, like I said, yeah, I feel like Emily, Rick, and Christian are at the core of this tribe, and I'm happy for her. I really like her. Her and Christian have a little bit of a background together through the Rob is a Podcast network that the average Survivor fan that's watching this show, not this video, but this show, would not necessarily know about that. So it is a cool story that they are able to hook up and work together on this season. For Jenna, I'm not like super sad that she's gone. I'm also not like I wasn't like eager to see her go either, but the pregame interviews, I did feel like she was gonna come out strong, come out hot. It's kind of her MO, and it's not. I think that the only reason why she made it so far in Borneo is because it was the first season, and she was able to like hold her own in the challenges and stuff, and able to hold her own in the survival aspect of stuff. And in All Stars, she was able to find a good alliance, and also it was the first returning player season, and I think that there was just a different vibe around how to handle the winners. And it's just like, hey, so she kind of helped form that idea of like, let's get out the winners. And I just think it's a different game now, and I don't think they're gonna let a winner win again. It obviously got a little bit easier with Kyle being gone, but um, I just don't think that that's how that like out of the gate. And it's a faster game, and a lot of people think that like in the 40s, because it's a faster game, you have to come in and just like go aggressive, go hard, and that really isn't what it is. You do have to have a plan, but I think that it's more about connecting with people and finding people you want to work with, and then seeing who else is left. So it's like, okay, well, I want to work with you and with you and with you. Who else then do we need to vote out? And not so much of being like, let's go get this person, and immediately target that person. It reminded me a lot of not Suri. It reminded me of Sierra Easton on Survivor Game Changers. She came out like really guns blazing, had a target on somebody. I don't remember who it was now. Wanted to get them out, and she was the first boot instead. Um, and it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. For Joe, I feel bad for Joe. Like I don't, he's a pretty boring player. I don't have anything against him at all as a person. In fact, he's probably a pretty incredible person. It seems like his story with his sister and with Eva last season, or not last season, but 48, I thought was incredible. He seems like an absolutely incredible person, just not my style of Survivor player. And it seems like he hasn't fully learned his lesson yet in terms of like why he lost. He didn't just lose because Kyle and Genevieve like schooled him in some like or manipulated him in some way and tricked him. Like, yes, they did kind of trick him a little bit, but like that's not why he lost the game. He lost the game because he didn't know how to vocalize the fact that like he just kind of played a loyal game, and so his game was different than theirs, but it was also kind of lame. And so he was like, he just needs, I don't know. It just like seems like he's just pinning it all on like, well, Kyle and Camilla, they got me, and so I'm going to be careful of any other duos. And like, yeah, you should be careful of duos. I'm not saying you shouldn't be careful of a strong duo, but like, I don't think Ozzy and Suri are exactly Kyle and Camilla. Number one, number two. if Ozzy and Suri are obviously working together, then they're not Kyle and Camilla. Because part of the reason why Kyle and Camilla got you, because you didn't know they were a pair. You didn't know they were working together. Whereas Ozzy and Suri, you saw in the episode, were just sitting on the beach together, just the two of them. Like it's pretty obvious that they're gonna be friendly and gonna be friends. Um, so I feel bad for him because it seems like he's just really struggling with having just a few weeks ago been how he feels like he was made the fool is what he feels like on live TV just a couple weeks ago, and that I mean, that'd be tough. So I feel bad for him. He's in a good spot right now. I just don't think that he has. I think his head's not in the right place to win the game right now. So we'll see what happens to him. But I think he's probably safe for a long time. Ozzy had a huge episode in terms of the Ozzy and Coach feud. I'll talk about that when I get to Coach, but I thought it was a solid episode for Ozzy. I wasn't thrilled. Is I feel like he vocalized a like I'm gonna play a different game. I'm not gonna do the same old, and I don't feel like I've seen that yet. So maybe there's still time, obviously, but it felt like he did some things that I was like, that's the old Ozzy. That's not a new Ozzy. That's not Oscar, like you said. This is just Ozzy still. Um, and I'm excited to see what happens. He is a fun player to watch. So I still have hope, but like I was a little on the fence with how I felt about him in this episode. Uh, Rick Devens, I was expecting him to come in too hot and like Jenna. I was thinking him or Jenna could be the first boot of this season of this tribe. And he was not. And he not only was he not, but like I said already before, him and Christian and Emily seemed to be kind of the epicenter of the tribe, and that's pretty great. So good job for Rick. I think it was really smart of him to look for the idol with Christian and not just look for it by himself, because then it sends this message to Christian of like, I trust you, number one, a ton. But also, I'm not gonna be sneaky behind your back. 'Cause this is just who I am. I'm looking for idols. Like, I'm not like trying to hide anything. I'm just doing this thing. So that was a good idea for him, I think. A good move for him. Savannah, I am worried for her. I kind of think she was just kind of screwed. Like, you come in as an unknown factor. No one knows anything about you except for that you won. And you can say, oh, she shouldn't have told them. Rizzo would have told them eventually. They had to have assumed one of them won because, they know D won, they know Kyle won. And then so you're gonna put this Savannah person on our tribe, and there's a winner on the other two tribes. We don't know anything about her. She probably won. And in the pregame interviews, people were speculating that she won already. So she's in a tough spot because no one knows anything about her. No one knows how she played. And so they don't know if they can trust her. Because it's like, oh, we just saw Joe play. We just saw Camilla and Kyle play. We know how they got far in the game. We know what they did to get far in the game. And so if they do something similar or different or whatever, we can still judge that for what it is. Whereas Savannah, it's like, we have no idea. Is this how you were last season, or is this just a big lie? Like, there's a lot of unknowns there. So I think she could be in trouble pretty soon, but we'll see. Okay, Kahlo Tribe. I was excited by Charlie. I thought he did a really good job trying to like just be under the radar, be chill, kind of go with the flow. Don't make any enemies. Just try to make some relationships, make some bonds. Just be easygoing. And I think he's doing a good job of that. I mean, I'm excited for what he could do. I think he could cause some trouble here at the end and could win the game potentially. I mean, I think there's still a lot of people that can win the game, so I'm not making some bold statement here. Chrissy also, I'm afraid she may have come out a little bit too strong. She came across a little too quirky and a little too like it felt like, and maybe this is just the edit, but it felt like she was trying really hard to make connections, to make relationships, and make bonds to the point where it was like, you're trying too hard, like relax. And if that's how her tri mates feel, that could be a problem. I would love to see her do well. I want to see her do well. It just felt a little bit forced. I don't know. Coach, Coach, man, he was amazing. I love Coach. And in terms of the Coach and Ozzy stuff, I think Coach was 100% in the right. This is Survivor. Coach never agreed to say like, oh, if you knock off the ring like of keys, I'm not gonna take it. It's a part of the challenge. The poles of like wood or whatever, not wood, but bamboo, whatever, had a hook on it. It's literally meant to get it in the sand and dig through. And that's the challenge. That's the challenge. You tried to steal it too when Coach grabbed it. Ozzy tried to steal it back. Like, just because Ozzy said, "Oh, hey, if one of you knock it down, I'll just let you have it," doesn't mean that everyone had to do that. Coach went for it. Good for him. And I think that what he said when he walked away from the beach there was basically like, "I'm gonna be cutthroat when I need to be cutthroat. I'm gonna do what I need to do to win the game, and I'm gonna try to do it with as much honor and integrity as I can." I think that's changing his game a little bit while also being true to himself. 'Cause I don't think he can just like do a 180 and be like, okay, I'm Russell Hantz now. I'm gonna be chaos and evil and crazy and nuts and burn people's clothes and find idols all the time and just go nuts. Like that's just not him. But I think making that small adjustment could be really big for his game. So I'm excited for that. Um, D, I think is probably gonna be in trouble. She's an obvious winner. And she's a highly respected winner. Um, and I don't know, this tribe, I could see them being like, we don't need D. We have, because D's very good at challenges. And so, I could see them being like, well, she's good at challenges. Maybe we should keep her. But they could also be like, well, we have Coach, we have Jonathan Young, we have the new and improved beast mode Mike White with his six pack. Maybe we don't need D. Um, so I'm worried for her a little bit, but if she can get in with Camilla and Tiffany and they can have something with like a couple other people, maybe she'll be okay for a while, but she clearly is a big threat. Jonathan's in a good spot. I mean, he's not interesting to me in terms of a Survivor player. I just think he's just a physical freak of nature, dominant and all that stuff. But like strategically, I just don't think he has what it takes to win. Um, and it's not entertaining to me just to see someone be really good at the challenges. Like it's entertaining in a way, but it's entertaining in one aspect of the game. And so it'd be the same thing if Suri was only good at social or strategy, but she's good at strategy and social. So because she's so bad at the challenges, I don't really care because she's still really great at the two other parts of the game. Um, so you have to be like either I don't know. To me, it's like a scale of like great, good, okay, bad at three different areas. And if Sri is like great at great at the strategic part, great at the social part, and terrible at the challenges, it's okay because she's great at two. Whereas Jonathan's great at the challenges, and then he seems like he's maybe a little bit better at the social than what he was last time, but strategic is pretty bad. So I don't know. We'll see. But I'm not worried about him. He's probably going to be like a merge boot because he's just a big physical threat. I'm happy for Camilla. I was worried that she would have a big target on her back because she was like the strategic powerhouse of that season a little bit and like the deceptive, manipulative, behind the scenes strategic powerhouse of the season, which is someone that in a season like this is going to get targeted. So I'm happy that she seems to be, doing good and not be targeted. And will probably be safe for a while if she stays on this tribe. If they don't do a swap, this tribe is probably not gonna get third place in a challenge. So, also Mike White, I thought was really great. I thought he was like charismatic and charming, like he always is, and charming in a way that like it disarms people. Charlie is the same way. I think they just disarm people, and that's a really powerful tool in Survivor because when you're disarmed, you don't realize how big of a threat somebody is. Tiffany had kind of she was like pretty quiet in the episode. And I think she's the kind of person that could win this season because she's under the radar and not going to be seen as a big threat right away. And she does have the skills to win it, I think. I don't know that because she, was eighth place in her season, not like second or third or whatever. Um, but she was really quiet this episode, and that could be a red flag for later on down the road. I hope not, but it was cool to see her, link up with Dee and Mila and try to find something there. But three people was not enough in a tribe of eight, so hopefully they can, figure something out. For Vatu, Angelina is one of my favorites. She's so much fun and so quirky and funny, and she didn't get a lot of airtime this episode, and I don't feel like she's in a great place right now. I feel like her and Aubrey are on the outs. Um, Also, speaking of Aubrey, like the interaction with Aubrey and Genevieve, I thought was super weird. I don't think like if you're Aubrey, you can afford to be that like strict, I guess is the way I want to say it. In terms of like your conversations from the jump. before, especially if you realize that you're like, I don't know that I'm in a good position with the tribe. I don't know that I'm like in a majority alliance or whatever else. So I'm gonna be really critical of another player when they try to come and talk game with me and try to like make a connection and maybe alliance. Um, I would like to see Angelina do well. I don't know. I'm kind of whatever about Aubrey. I just kind of like you see her 3 times in like 5 or 6 seasons, and it's like okay, that was a lot of Aubrey, and she's fine. I enjoyed her in Ko Wrong, and the other 2 seasons I was kind of just like, she's fine, she's whatever. Um, who knows? We'll see. But Colby was pretty fun actually. And I think he's in a decent spot. His character arc already with Rizzo was really fun, and I think he's in a good position. Genevieve, I was really excited to see how good she was doing right away. I was worried about her the same way I was with Camilla because she was seen as like this big threat in her season and pulled off helped with Andy and Sam pulled off Operation Italy and just like was good at challenges and just was kind of cutthroat voting off allies and um I could see her being seen as a big threat, so I was kind of cool to see her come in and find a home and find an alliance. That was really cool, and I'm happy for her for that. I hope she does well. I'm gonna skip over Kyle because of the medevac, so I'm gonna come back to that in a second. But Q also, he was just it's so much fun. Every episode that we get to have Q is going to be it's going to be better. The season will be better the longer that Q's in it. And I'm not sure with Kyle gone how he's going to do. It seemed like he was in a really good position. I was definitely worried for him coming into the season, but it seemed like he was in a good position. And then now with Kyle gone, if there's a tribe swap or something like that coming up in a couple episodes, I could see him being in trouble. But I hope not. I hope not. Happy for Rizzo that he was able to kind of like find a little bit of a connection there with Colby. And it sounds like from post game interviews with Kyle that Rizzo and Kyle were actually tight with Genevieve in there and Q, and that those four were like actually kind of the core four, and then Stephanie and Colby thought that they were like the core four with Genevieve and Kyle, but really it was Q and Rizzo, probably. I don't know. It's just Kyle's perspective, but. So kind of cool for Rizzo as being this like really goofy, quirky guy who's getting on Colby's nerves and no one knows anything about him. So to have him turn that around so quickly, I think it's pretty neat. And he's just a lot of fun, and he's just so energetic and enthusiastic that it's contagious, and you can't help but root for him, I think. So Stephanie, I'm not a fan of Stephanie for outside of the game reasons. And she's fine as a player, but I just not the biggest fan of her as a person. Um, and so I don't really care. I hope she gets out next. She's in a good spot though, so she probably won't get voted off next. But it sounds like her and Colby pre-gamed and found an alliance pre-game. They're acting like, oh, I haven't seen him in so long. Well, they were apparently texting each other and in Ponderosa were making it pretty clear that they were going to work together. So whatever, she can take a hike. All right, let's get into the Kyle. Oh my goodness, I almost forgot Kyle. I feel so bad for Kyle. I love Kyle. He's just such a special guy. He's a very like he just it's hard not to like just fall in love with him as a person and as a player. Um, he is just an incredible person, and I was super excited to see Kyle and Q work together, and that the fact that they just had this unspoken bond as black men is just not something that you see a lot on Survivor, even with the diversity initiative they have in the casting now. Um, it's just not something that you get to see all the time. We have two African American men that are like, yeah, we're gonna try to work together and see how this goes. Let's try to run the game, and it just and like to see it be not like it was like they were like, hey, because of the fact that we're black, we're going to do this. It was just like, we're going to do this. And you can tell they just had this unspoken bond that just like, Q was like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. I thought it was pretty cool. And it just sucks for him so bad that he had the injury. Stacy was like pretty immediately was like, I think it's an Achilles. Like she was like, that looked like Tyrese. Is it when he was laying on the ground and his foot was like stuck back, not stuck back, but like his foot was like pushed back really far. She was like, that looks bad. And so I was like, oh, but then it seemed like he might be okay, and then he was not okay. So And it just was crazy because as a winner, he was the last winner that everyone saw play, and he was in a great position. And it seems like that's the truth. Like I don't know. And do I think he could have won the game? I mean, probably not. I don't know that they would let him get all the way to the end, but he was in a great position, and I felt terrible for him. So, okay. So if you're just listening for my Survivor 50 episode one takes, I'm gonna stop there and go in really quickly to the Fantasy Survivor stuff. So, here's the score by player, and I went through and calculated everyone's score for every player. And you can see it's ranked from the most points to the least points. And then Jenna and Kyle are both out of the game. So we are going to fill that in a little darker. So there's a little clear delineation there between who's still in the game and who's out of the game. And then I just took that and put the points in with every uh, player's total score for every person that's in the game. And so um, Ozzy had a mammoth game, 28 points. And then Savannah, Q, Coach, Genevieve, Mike, Colby, and Stephanie all had very good games. And then everyone else is pretty close behind there. Christian, Aubrey, Angelina with 10, Jonathan, Rizzo with 9, Rick, Charlie, Chrissy, and Camilla with 8, D, Joe, Tiffany with 7, Suri with 6, and Emily with 5. Jenna going out on 4 is pretty rough for the people that had Jenna. And Kyle, even though Alyssa lost Kyle, was the only person that had Kyle, you know, Kyle went out with a bang. 17 points would have been right around here in this, is first, second, tied for third. So, fourth, fifth, whatever you want to call that place for the episode. It's not too bad. So, overall, scoreboard. Stacy is at 59 points and Mason's at 60. Ellie's at 68. Alyssa's at 75. Ben's at 77. Noah's at 79. Brooke is at 80. I am at 86. That's third place. Cameron's at 94, and Alex is at 94. Um, and the one thing to keep in mind, for one, this is going to be a long season, and also we're going to start losing probably, you know, 2 players an episode at some point in time because we just have 6 more players than a normal season would have, 24 players. Um, and so like even though Stacy and Mason are like 30 behind Alex, it's a long season, and the points do jump up for surviving a round. Pre-merge is 3 points. Post-merge it's 6. And if you get to the end, you get some jury votes. That's big. If you have the winner, that's big. And while Alex and Cameron and I did not lose anybody, um, Br Brooke, who's in fourth, lost Jenna. Um, Ben, who is in sixth, already didn't have one player. Um, Alyssa, who's in seventh, lost Jenna and Kyle. And then Ellie, who's in eighth, lost Jenna. Yeah, there's Jenna. So it wouldn't shock me actually if Mason and Stacy jumped up a couple spots next episode because they're gonna have their full roster of 7 players. Um, and Ellie, like I said, Alyssa and Ben will not. So it would take Stacy to jump to beat Ben by 18 points for her to jump up that far. But like jumping up a couple spots, I don't think is unrealistic. And then that's just with one episode, let alone 2 or 3 episodes from now. So I don't think anybody's out of it at all. Um, and I think that like having the winner and having people that make it far post merge is going to be a huge factor. So. It's an interesting start. Ozzy just had a crazy episode, and so I think that Cameron and I had Ozzy. I'm trying to double check. So that's a part of why Cameron had Ozzy and I had Ozzy. It's a part of why we were that high up there. Alex though didn't have Ozzy and still had 94 points. Um, Savannah had a huge episode. I am a little bit worried that she could get voted off soon, but big episode from Savannah. But this group right here, Q, Mike White, and Coach, and none of them seem to be on their way out anytime soon. This could be a huge boost for Alex there. Um, for Cameron, he has Mike. Colby seems like he's in a good spot. Stephanie seems like she's in a good spot. I mean, Ozzy wouldn't shock me if he got voted off in the next few episodes, but I don't think it's going to be this episode. Um, for me, Coach and Ozzy are kind of carrying me. I think Angelina had way more points. I don't think that she'll have that many points. I don't know. We'll see. It feels like she could be getting voted off soon if they lose, and so this might be like a big episode for her, and then she gets back down. I don't know, but I think it's still anybody's game. At this point, I'm just rambling, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop this here. I'm gonna try to do. I'm definitely gonna do at least a fantasy update for the people that are doing fantasy with me. But this season's been super fun so far. It's just been one episode, but if it's this fun every time, I'm just gonna like keep doing episode reactions and stuff. And I don't know, we'll see. But if it's still this fun and this good, then I'll just keep making little videos. Hopefully not super long, but we'll see. All right. See y'all later.